And Coulter, in recent weeks, you have rather lost trust in Donald Trump. Did the State of the Union revive it for you?
Well, he didn't say anything stupid, so that was great. That was a major step forward.
Oh, my goodness. Is that really the bar now for the President of the United States, that if he doesn't say anything stupid, it's a success?
I must say, I'm sorry I wasn't wild about the speech. There was a lot of sappy, flowery language. I could have cut it down to about 45 minutes, and I think it would have been a lot better. But I liked the way he started, saying this isn't a Republican speech, this isn't a Democrat speech, this is a speech for America. I thought the stuff he said about the wall and immigration was great. And even, you know, a few bows to the Democrats and, oh, all the women in Congress.
I mean, what's interesting, Basil Smikle, I thought, was that it was a very much more warm Donald Trump. Funny enough, he reminded me last night when I was watching it more of the Trump that I got to know when I did Celebrity Apprentice. And it may be a slightly facile comparison, but I sat opposite him for 3 hours a night for 6 weeks. He was much warmer in that environment than I've ever seen him when he's being the president. He's like he plays this big tough guy. Last night, for the first time, I thought he's actually trying now to slightly soften the hard rhetoric, and I was actually very pleased to see it. As it turned out, so it would appear with the American people. 72% in a CBS poll said that they approved of his speech.
Well, it's hard to be horrible at a State of the Union speech because it's one of those things that actually gives presidents the platform to look presidential, and it's been proven that Donald Trump can actually read a teleprompter. It's the one time in the year that he's actually on script. And it's also the one time it seems that through this vehicle that you have a sense of what the collective sort of, I don't know if I want to use the word wisdom, but the collective thinking of his administration is. There were a couple of points that I thought were interesting. The talking about lowering drug prices, I think that's really a key piece of policy that I do think has bipartisan appeal. So does the criminal justice reform. That's something that members of the House and the Senate have been working across the aisle to get done. So if we focused on those things, I think, you know, there's some hope. But everything else, a hit at the Democrats, clearly, in my opinion.
Let's talk about the wall, because you're a great advocate of the wall and much tougher immigration control. But it was not being able to secure funding for the wall which led to the biggest government shutdown in American political history. He is absolutely adamant that the wall is going up. Is it? And how?
Well, I mean, in that sense, tonight's speech, though, I thought there were a lot of groaners with, like I say, the Hallmark commercial stuff. You know, it may have served a useful purpose, and especially from what Piers just said. I mean, he did seem warm, maybe a little more flowery than I would have liked, but he did seem warm, and as if he's reaching across the aisle. He was, I mean, I think that criminal justice reform bill, releasing criminals, is a terrible idea, but it's something the Democrats like. So he talked about that for a while, and he introduced a couple of people who've been released from prison because of his bill. And like I say, you know, just celebrating women's suffrage and getting women back to work. I mean, there were so many things reaching across the aisle. And by the way, that's not what I'm complaining about, or that I was groaning over. I think it does show him to be going out of his way, bending over backward to be nice to Democrats. And come on, can't we just get together and protect the people who already live here? This isn't fair. They're taking jobs.
Yeah, I thought he made an interesting point, which I think is almost inarguable now. Having covered myself American politics for many years and been very fascinated by it, the thing that's really struck me in recent years is just how intransigent and incredibly partisan and hostile everything's got, to the point where really it seems from the moment there's a new president, the other camp basically spend their entire waking moment trying to destroy that president, and then we move on to another one and so on. And Trump said an interesting thing, I thought. He said that the only thing that can really slow down America's economy and success are, quotes, foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. I sort of thought, yeah, you know what? He's not wrong, is he?
Well,
I mean, America has expended so much energy.
you need an
on
investigation if
pretty
there are
pointless wars.
accusations of malpractice.
Well, you do, but do you
not
need to spend all your effort? Should all the effort? I always think if the
Right.
Democrats and Republicans all just got together and said, why don't we just expend as much effort on trying to destroy whoever the president is, on actually trying to make America successful? Wouldn't it be better?
But can we?
Yeah, Basil?
Can we talk about Trump
that was to
perhaps
me.
going?
That was,
Well,
to
can
be
we
fair,
talk
that
about
was a
Trump?
question. Let me start with
that
Anne,
was to
Basil.
me.
Let me start with Anne, because Anne, that was a question for you. I mean, I
yes,
thought he had a point.
There were two important things that were accomplished by that. Yes, you're right. I mean, partisan politics. Yeah, we're a partisan country. It is a democracy. You vote, but it has gotten so much worse under Trump. It is just people rooting for their football team. I mean, the point that Trump could say it's a nice day, and you'd have pussy hat wearing protesters. So it's good to raise that point. And the second point that I think it's important that you just mentioned about that is that that's actually really good advice for the Democrats. I hope they don't take it, because that's probably the best thing that happened to Trump, having a Democratic House. If they're going to have investigations for the next 2 years instead of passing laws, well, good luck to them.
Okay, Basil.
Well, what I would have liked to have seen was Donald Trump go back to his 2016 self, when he was goading Republicans to continue to investigate Hilary Clinton and lead the chance to lock her up. But apparently that's not good, and that doesn't work for him when there are real and very serious investigations going on to in his business dealings. That's real. And the truth is, I think a lot of that is sort of trying to reverse engineer a lot of the vetting and a lot of the scrutiny that should have been on him when he was a candidate
Basil,
before he became president of the United States. So I think it's appropriate that that's being done.
Basil, let me ask you this. There's a growing sort of tidal wave of excitement about socialist Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? Getting all the attention. She's a superstar and so on. And last night, you know, she looked like she was being pretty surly, didn't want to clap anything, didn't want to, being very like anti-Trump. She said we shouldn't listen to anything he says, even though he's a president and so on. I just have a gut feeling no socialist is going to become president of the United States. Is it a good thing? Is it a good thing for the Democratic Party that your leading lights right now are all pretty hard left socialists?
I disagree with that, because number one, if you look at the midterm elections weren't won by a ton of socialists. There was a tremendous amount of diversity. It was racial, ethnic, age, but also ideological diversity. So I'd like what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been doing, but she is not, quote, representative of the party. She just won a really stunning election, and then the sort of narrative about her became the narrative of the party. I don't think that's actually true. So that's number one. Number two, I do understand that the Republicans use her frequently and sort of extrapolate her victory and her ideas to speak for the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. But if you actually listen to Stacey Abrams in the Democratic response to the State of the Union address, what you got was someone who was talking about really important ideas, really important policy, and a bipartisan approach to that.
Okay.
That is not socialist. That is real policy that has bipartisan roots.
Final word to Anne. And of all the candidates you've seen popping up now, because we're heading towards election year next year. We're only 18 months or so away now from next election. I would put good money right now, frankly, if the economy stays in reasonable shape, on Trump getting re-elected. I said this before he won last time. Everyone called me an idiot, and then he won. And I think the same thing is happening now, because the Democrats don't seem to have worked out what kind of candidate they think can beat him. If you were being dispassionate and impartial, of all the names you've seen, who do you think is the biggest threat to a Trump re-election?
Well, I think the nominee, and I've said this for a year now, and who knows, it's so early now, you can't hold me to this and make fun of me, but I do think it's going to be Kamala Harris. And as for Trump winning re-election, I mean, I got to say, I think it comes down to whether he keeps, in some way, his central campaign promise. If he loses any slice of his base, that was a close election, and Texas and Florida were very close in the midterm elections. If he demoralizes his base by just talking about the wall, and never building the wall, and he can build the wall, he doesn't need Congress, but I think he does need to prepare the public for his building the wall.
So it could be Kamala Harris v. Trump in 2020. Thank you both very much indeed for that insight into the State of the Union last night.